y'all, so this is the black dress that I am going to be making in this video. It's made out of a polyester knit, so it's a four-way stretch, and I'm trying to line up the lines. Since it's such a big plaid, it's something that is pretty important to get those lines lined up and make sure that it's laying well and matching up once you sew it up. So that is what I'm doing here, and I'm switching between a couple of different patterns to make sure that I got the right measurements for the sleeves that I'm going to be doing. And so instead of using the actual back piece for the pattern, I am just going to use the front because this is a very straightforward, I guess you can call it a sack dress. So I'm going to be matching up the lines again with the back piece because on the side seams that's going to be very important. It's going to come into play. So I'm going to put the back pattern piece on there, but just because the armhole cut is a little bit smaller, it's a little different than the front piece, and then of course the neckline is also up higher than the front piece unless you just want a lower neck. But this is the sleeves, and I'm just doing them on fold, that way both of them are cut, and I know that they are going to be, the lines are going to be okay. And then I am doing a bell sleeve, and so I was trying to figure out how to get that done, and it didn't have a pattern, so just kind of measured it off and then measured along as I went. So this is definitely not recommended, not the best way, but I just was measuring and cutting as I went, and it actually worked out okay in this instance, but it could very easily be that you would have to recut it, and I did not have a lot of fabric left, so I would have been stranded at that point. But I'm gonna sew the bell part onto the sleeve first, so that's what I'm doing here. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other one. The right side's facing together, and I'm just serging along. Now next I'm going to be sewing the top shoulder pieces together, and then I will be able to sew the sleeve into that onto the bodice. And this is where you will see shortly I messed up. I did not pin it on before I started serging, and I ended up that I had, and since it is a four-way stretch, you're going to run into stretching one side a little bit more than the other one, and it comes out looking puffy or not meeting at the end when it's supposed to, so that's why I ended up tearing it off. A little tip on that: you pull on the top two threads, you find those, you pull them out, and the serge is super easy to pull out if you're doing a serge. Now cover stitch, that is not the case, but a serge, that is makes it much easier. Here is going on to the second sleeve. Again, I pinned it there. Should have pinned it before I started, but worked for me. And then I am starting with the bell sleeve, going along the sleeve, sewing it all together, and then along the sides of the bodice, going onto the skirt or the whole side of the dress, and just sewing along. This one was just took a little bit more because I wanted to make sure I lined up all the lines and it wouldn't look tacky later on, and so I just actually helped some with making sure I wasn't stretching the bottom or the top more than the other, but it was also a little bit of a challenge to make sure they all lined up. And there it is. I am switching out the threads to a cover stitch. That requires taking the needles out. If you all want to see how to do this, I can do a video of exactly how this is done on this particular serger. Now again, I started seeing that the stitch was not good at all. Tried to adjust a little bit, again, not good. So I went ahead and ripped the seam and re-threaded the whole thing, and then tried a little piece, and now it was working well. So what I'm doing here is I am hemming. And then I'll be doing the same thing on the end of the bell sleeves as well. Just hemming them with a cover stitch. And I am using 2 threads on the cover stitch. Or 3 threads, 2 on the top and 1 on the bottom. At the very end, you do have to go back and cut off any excess fabric at places to just make it look neat and tidy. And of course, trimming any threads that are loose, that are random. And then I'm also doing the same thing around the neckline. Now some fabrics will not work as well as others doing this. Some look better if you have interfacing. I personally think it looks dressier if you have a facing sewn in instead of just doing a cover stitch. But in this case, I needed this dress to be done, and I was okay with the look of the cover stitch, so I just went ahead and finished it.